When I woke up this morning, I checked Twitter and saw a discussion regarding one of Call of Duty's most divisive games, Infinite Warfare. The original tweet was a retrospective on the Infinite Warfare trailer and how it relates to some of the newer games being released today. The reveal trailer for the game was released 7 years ago, and as you all remember, there was a lot of anger with this game. Call of Duty players voiced their displeasure by dislike bombing the trailer, making it the most disliked game trailer of all time with a staggering 4 million dislikes. That original tweet has prompted a lot of discussion in favor of Infinite Warfare, with tweets saying things such as Infinite Warfare got so much unnecessary hate, and other tweets claiming they will never forgive Call of Duty fans for how they reacted to this game. And honestly, I cannot help but laugh at this revisionist history. It completely ignores why Call of Duty players had such a problem with Infinite Warfare. So let's take a look back at the state of the franchise at that time and look back at Infinite Warfare as a game to determine if it's truly that bad. The Call of Duty franchise was in a very weird place in 2016. We were in the midst of the jetpack era. Personally, I actually enjoyed this era a lot, and I know that's not a popular opinion in this community, but I don't really care. I loved Advanced Warfare, and I believe that that is the truly overhated game, but we'll talk about that some other time. I also loved Black Ops 3 even more, with it being my most played PS4 game of all time. But like I said, this isn't a super popular opinion. A lot of players didn't like the new movement and wanted normal COD back, and it didn't help that Infinite Warfare was going to be the third jetpack game in a row. And I really think it would have helped if they just spread these games out. Obviously, back in the day, everyone used to always say, every Call of Duty is the same, and so Activision was like, okay, bet, we're going to make them completely different. But then they just went completely overboard with it. I think it really would have helped if they spread these games out. Make a jetpack game, and then make a modern game, and then maybe go back to futuristic, and then maybe make a past game with World War II or something like that. It would have kept everyone in the community happy, but instead they went all in on just futuristic games just 1 year suddenly. And even as someone who liked these games, I can understand why people weren't happy about this. The Infinite Warfare trailer basically just became the way players voiced their displeasure at the state of the franchise. Is that fair to this specific game? Probably not, but how else would they do it? Also, at a certain point, it just kind of became a meme to dislike the trailer, so most of the people disliking it probably didn't actually care. But let's move on to the game itself. Is it actually overhated? Were Call of Duty players wrong to hate on it so much? Well, it depends what part of the game we're talking about. Most of the Twitter discussion I've seen is clearly referring to the campaign. And I will agree, the campaign in this game is great. It was clear a lot of passion went into this campaign, and it also added a lot of firsts for Call of Duty. For example, the campaign had a hub that you would return to throughout the campaign, and that helped make the characters and world feel so much more real and alive. It was a really nice change of pace from the other Call of Duty campaigns, which were like basically just on-rail shooters that would just funnel you from mission to mission, and there wasn't much else going on. The graphics were incredible. I think they still hold up today, and it was really nice to get this campaign after the disaster that was the Black Ops 3 campaign. So yes, I will agree, the Infinite Warfare campaign is fantastic, and anyone trying to argue otherwise is wrong. But okay, if the campaign was the only part of the game, then I would agree Infinite Warfare is overhated. But we all know that's not the case. The campaign is not the only part of the game. It's not even the most important mode. Call of Duty games live and die by their multiplayer, and the multiplayer was just bad in this game. As many of you will remember, this game came bundled with Modern Warfare Remastered, and so most people really never even gave Infinite Warfare's multiplayer a chance. They just immediately hopped into Modern Warfare. And while I did play MWR for most of the year, I gave Infinite Warfare a genuine chance. According to my PlayStation, I have 77 hours on the game. That's not a ton of time, but it's enough to form an opinion on the game. And the multiplayer just simply is not good. I always thought this multiplayer just felt cheap, and watching the gameplay back now, I still feel that same way. It just feels soulless. Another thing I really hate is the color in this game. It's so bland and like washed out. The game honestly looks and feels like a total slog. I also really don't like the movement system. The movement system is not quite like any of the other futuristic games. It's not as extreme as Advanced Warfare. It's more similar to Black Ops 3, but it just doesn't feel feel as tight as Black Ops 3. And I honestly found myself missing the more extreme movement in Advanced Warfare because I felt it gave that game a very high skill gap, and I think the game benefited from that. I also remember the multiplayer being very unfinished at launch. For example, a simple feature like leaderboards weren't there at launch, and they were not added until January. That is 2 months of not having a leaderboard in a AAA shooter. Honestly, in my 77 hours, I found nothing in this multiplayer was really worth playing and going back to. Now, there was also the third mode in the game, Zombies in Spaceland, and that was pretty good as well. I'm really not a Zombies player, so I can't say much here, but I did like the mode, and it seems like the Zombies community liked it as well. So to recap, 2 of the 3 modes in the game were actually pretty good, but the multiplayer was just awful, and whether you like it or not, that is the most important part of Call of Duty. So was Infinite Warfare really overhated as these tweets claim? Obviously, it's going to depend who you ask. If you only look at the campaign, then yes, the game was amazing. But Call of Duty is a game built on its multiplayer, and it was awful in this game. So when we talk about Infinite Warfare and its quality, we really need to specify what we are talking about. These tweets acting like the game is a masterpiece and the COD community are so stupid for hating it, it's just disingenuous. They are choosing to ignore the most important mode of the game. Another reason why this conversation started is because the current state of the franchise is awful as well. With Modern Warfare 2.5 a few days from official launch, things really are not looking good. The campaign is getting scathing reviews, and it has people rethinking what eras of Call of Duty they used to consider bad. And while I certainly agree the jetpacks were overhated, we are not about to revisionist history Infinite Warfare. The multiplayer was truly that bad, and it was deserving of the hate.